Welcome, everybody, and thank you for joining me for another QuickBooks Power Hour. It's an honor to be with you today, and I'm glad to having you join me, especially in January when I know it's a very busy month for accounting professionals. Our topic today is QuickBooks Online. We're going to be talking about preparing 1099s and what's new in QuickBooks Online. So a little bit about the QB Power Hours, what we're going to go over first. We'll talk about the CPE process and ACE credits. Our topics and learning objectives for today, we're going to learn how to set up and prepare 1099s in QuickBooks Online. And I imagine because it's the middle of January, you guys may have some questions about that. So I've got Heather Satterley with Satterley Training and Consulting. Thank you, Heather, for joining us. She's going to be helping answer some questions, and she's also going to be chiming in from time to time throughout this webinar today. We're also going to help you understand the recent updates to QuickBooks Online and share some new features and functionality with you. Some of them are pretty cool. I think you're going to be excited about them. So just a little bit about QB Power Hour for those of you that might be new to this. This is a webinar series that's usually twice a month, every other Thursday. Our next episode you can see coming up, we'll have QBO Payroll and Gusto. We're going to talk about managing accounts payable in QuickBooks Online with Mineral Tree. We've got managing AR in QBO with AR Collect. And we're going to be adding more updates on our schedule coming up as well. On our QB Power Hours, we cover usually, a combination of desktop and QuickBooks Online. Some are QuickBooks Online exclusive or desktop exclusive. Like today, we're talking about QuickBooks Online only. And also, occasionally, we bring in special guests with some third-party apps that we think are wonderful and a useful tool that you all might want to use for yourselves or your clients. We also talk about practice management and some other topics as well. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Michelle Long. I am a CPA and the owner of Long for Success. I'm a long-time QuickBooks user, started using it in '99, and one of the national trainers referring to it, and I really love teaching QuickBooks, so I'm glad to have you joining us today. Join some of the groups that you'll see here, the LinkedIn group, and I've got a link for the Facebook group as well. Love to have you join us on social media. Hector Garcia is my co-host and partner with QB Power Hour, and as you know, Hector's been doing these the last few months while I've been busy training and on the road traveling, and I appreciate him covering for me. And now it's my turn to be covering for him because he's really busy with tax season as well as his growing family with 4 little ones to help take care of. He is a very busy man. So we do appreciate all that Hector does for us, and I know you guys love him as well. And again, we have Heather Satterley helping today with questions and chiming in throughout with Satterley Training and Consulting. Heather, do you want to say a quick hi?
Sure. Hi, everybody. This is Heather Satterley. Thanks, Michelle, for having me on. This is really fun. I've been looking forward to it. I'm in Portsmouth, Rhode Island, in case anybody wondered, and it's cold here. It's like 32 degrees, so which I guess it could be colder, but it's still pretty cold as far as I'm concerned. So.
That's not too bad. Well, yes, thank you, Heather. Heather's one of the national trainers on the Intuit kind of training route, if you will, and she and I have been presenting together in various cities, and it's always a great time presenting with her. And she and I are going to be presenting kind of together next week at Intuit's virtual conference. Heather and I are going to be covering the 5 modules for the QuickBooks Online certification, or I guess the 5 sections of the test. We're going to be covering all that, kind of going back and forth on the various topics next week. So if you're not QuickBooks Online certified yet, I'd encourage you to register. It is free. And in addition to the QuickBooks Online certification session, Ron Baker is going to be doing one on Tuesday on value pricing at the beginning of the VCon. I'm going to be helping answer questions for Ron. And then at the end of the VCon, I'm also doing one on Wednesday on steps to effective marketing. So I'd love to have you join me for that, or me and Heather for the QBO certification prep session. Again, that's free, and it's next week on the 24th and the 25th. And there's the link for that, QuickBooksVCon.com. Then we'd also invite you to join us at Scaling New Heights. That conference is coming up in Orlando in June, and QuickBooks Connect in San Jose. Both of those are great conferences, and if you can attend one or both of them, I do recommend it. They're great opportunities for networking and learning more. So a little bit about the CPE process. As you know, you must attend the live webinar. If you're listening to this on YouTube, you're not eligible for CPE credits. You must be logged in for at least 50 minutes today. I will be giving you 4 polling questions throughout the webinar. You need to answer at least 3 of those polling questions to get the CPE credit. Then the CPE certificates are usually in about 3 weeks. So put a reminder on your calendar and wait for about 3 weeks. You might even wait a little bit longer right now because it is busy season, but we do a good job of getting those out to you. So thank you for joining us. This one is not eligible for ACE credits. If you're advanced continuing education credits for advanced certified pro-advisors, this one is not an ACE approved webinar. So just to let you know about that. So let's dig right in and get to it. First of all, we're going to talk about setting up and preparing 1099s in QuickBooks Online. I imagine a lot of you are kind of busy and ready to go working on these 1099s, probably for several days now. So we're going to talk about doing this in QuickBooks Online. So first thing that you need to know is the 1099 tracking and the ability to prepare and file those and everything is only available in QuickBooks Online Plus Edition. If your client or you is using Essentials, there is a workaround how you can kind of track some of that in QBO Essentials, and you do it using the notes feature in the vendors, and then you have to customize a couple of reports to get the information you need, and then you either need to use a third-party app to file or e-file those 1099s, or if you're doing them manually. But how to do that workaround, Heather Satterley actually helped write and came up with this in the advanced cert materials. So if you're a pro advisor, which I hope you are, if you click on the QuickBooks Online Advanced Certification, click on that name there, and underneath that you're going to see the training modules, the supplemental guides. Look at the one for Module 3 on special transactions and tools, and you'll see the workaround for trying to do 1099s in QBO Essentials. Thank you, Heather, for coming up with that and writing that and sharing it with everybody so they can try to do that. And that's usually for when you have a few 1099s. If you have a lot of 1099s, it's probably going to be worthwhile to go ahead and update your client from Essentials to Plus so that you're able to do that. So the first thing that you need to do in QuickBooks Online is to set up your vendors. You got to check the box to track the 1099s and enter the tax ID number, of course. And in just a few minutes, I'm going to go in and show you how all this works in QuickBooks. So we're going to talk about it just a second on the slides, and then I'm just going to pop into QuickBooks to show you all these details. Okay? So let's go ahead and talk about the 4 steps. It is a little bit different in QuickBooks Online. In QuickBooks Desktop, part of the setup process was to go edit the company preferences and go in there and do the tax mappings or the line mappings, which lines, which accounts are you using for preparing the 1099. In QuickBooks Online, the only setup there really is setting up those initial vendors. Then when you go into the 1099 wizard, that's where you're going to assign the accounts to the 1099s and things like that. So you'll review your company details, assign your payments to those 1099 categories or accounts. You'll confirm which 1099 vendors need to be getting it. You can review those vendors and payments, and then you can e-file them, or you could also do them manually, but I recommend just e-filing them. So let's just go ahead and get into QuickBooks Online and let's take a look at this. So I am going to go into this sample company that we've got here. This is Larry's Landscaping that I'm working with. So first of all, when you're in your vendors, one of the setup things, vendor. So I'm going to go into this test vendor here, a test vendor. And when you click on edit, that's where right here you're going to see where you have to enter the tax ID number and track the payments for 1099. Now this is where you can't do that in QuickBooks Online Essentials. You don't see those boxes there. That's not available. That's where we've got a workaround where in the notes you can put like 1099 and put their ID number over here if you wanted to, so that you could have that information available. And then you customize a couple of reports to include that notes field. So you have like a contact report that includes the notes field, so you can sort and filter and figure out which vendors are 1099. And then also you create a detailed transaction report to get those transactions that you need for the 1099. So there's a couple of different things that you can do. And again, that is covered in the advanced materials under Module 3. So I encourage you to check that out. So you go through and you set up all your vendors and put that information in there. And then when you're ready to prepare your 1099 in your vendor center, you're going to see right up here in the upper right corner where it says Prepare 1099. That's our 1099 wizard that we have. So I'm going to click on Prepare 1099. And in here, I encourage you to click on this if you're new to doing 1099s, if you're new to doing them with QuickBooks Online, click on Getting Started with 1099. That's like a 14-page PDF guide that's going to give you the details about doing the 1099s in QuickBooks Online. Also then, here's where you can get information on e-filing or printing those forms, and I'll talk about that more in just a few minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and click Continue Your 1099, and now I am on step 4, so I got to click back a couple times, so I go back up to step 1, so I can go through this whole wizard with you. So step 1 of the wizard is right here, reviewing your company details. Make sure your company name and address and your tax ID are correct. If any of that is incorrect, over here on the right, you can click on the pencil to edit that and just go in there and correct that and put the correct information in there. The next step is where we're going to map the accounts for our 1099. So for example, right here under box 1, rent, that's where we would go through and we chose the rent expense account for this one. Then we came down and then our non-employee compensation. So this is the account mapping that you're used to doing in desktop under edit preferences, but it's actually part of the wizard here in QuickBooks Online. So you can see I've already, under non-employee compensation, this company already has advertising, job expenses, professional fees, legal and accounting, bookkeeping fees. Let's say I needed to add some things to that. I can click on this drop-down list. I'm going to come down under my expenses and maybe my computer repairs. Maybe the person that does our computer repairs is a sole proprietor, so I need to also include him or her on the 1099. So you can add additional accounts to that. Now, one of the things that some people do is they may put the account name, they may put 1099 in the account name so that it helps them to remember all the accounts that they need to add to the 1099s. Or the minute you add a new account, come in here and go through the 1099 wizard and add that account here so that it's pulling all those accounts that you need. Now, I'm going to go ahead and click on Next. Once you've added all the accounts that you need, the next step in this process is to go ahead and select your vendors. Before I move on with that, though, I'm going to go ahead and do a poll question for you all, because remember, we have 4 poll questions. You need to answer 3 out of the 4 for CPE credit. So I've gone ahead and launched that poll question there. Are you using QuickBooks Desktop or online? Are you mostly desktop, like 95% or more, mostly desktop, half and half, mostly QBO or QuickBooks Online, or are you 95% or more QuickBooks Online, and roughly 95%? Kind of let me know where you're at using QuickBooks Online and answer that for me. I'm going to take a quick peek at the questions. And Drew says, why wouldn't you just choose all of the accounts for 1099 and then only check mark the vendors that need the 1099? You could, but I usually think it's a better idea to just focus on specific accounts. You don't want to get some erroneous information in there. I haven't actually tried that myself, but I guess you could. Shouldn't you use box 14 for legal? Doug, probably. This is a sample company, and we don't always pay attention to the details, and we have lots of people using it as well. Can you pick a fixed asset account, such as work in progress? Sarah, yes, I believe you can. So if you've got a construction client where the job costs are going into work in progress, I'm pretty sure you can pick a work in progress account because I was seeing asset and liability accounts when I was going through there. All right, let's see other questions that we might have. Whoops, I went way down in the questions. So while I'm looking at some of these questions, go ahead and do that. Oh, and somebody wants to share. Bill, thank you for sharing. I just went past it. I think you guys can see this too. Heads up, if you make journal entries and enter a vendor name in the entry, the amount in the JE will be added to your 1099 amount. To correct it, you have to delete the vendor name in the JE. That's a good thing to share, Bill. Thank you. I generally recommend that when you're dealing with customers or vendors, you don't enter journal entries at all. That for like vendors, you either enter a vendor bill or a vendor credit because journal entries are really kind of a cash basis, and that's why it's showing up on the 1099 is because it's cash basis. All right, let's see how you guys are doing on some of these poll questions there. Looks like 92% of you have already answered that poll question. I'm going to give you about 10 more seconds. If you need CPE, please answer that poll question. Ready? Last chance. 3, 2, 1. And I'm going to go ahead and share this with you so you can see who else is using what they're using. So we've got, let's see, we had 19% on almost all desktop, with 21% mostly, 23% half and half, 15%, so man, that's a pretty good distribution, and 22% on QuickBooks Online. That's really interesting. That's a pretty evenly spread distribution there. I'm seeing more and more people moving to mostly QuickBooks Online or all QuickBooks Online. So that's really great to see those results. Thank you guys for answering that. We'll have another poll question for CPE in just a few minutes. So I'm going to go on back, and we're going to talk about step number 3 here, where we're talking about confirming your 1099 vendors. Now, this is where you need to make sure, and I know you guys know the pain of this, with your clients, you've got to have all the vendor information, right? So one of the things that a lot of accountants and bookkeepers are doing these days is they're trying to teach our clients, you don't make a payment to a vendor until you get that 1099 information, so that all through their year you're getting their 1099 information instead of at year-end scrambling trying to get all these W-9s from vendors or subcontractors, and some of them you may not be able to find anymore, or they may not return the information. And now more than ever with the new IRS filing deadlines, we need the information sooner rather than later, because we got to get all these filed by the end of the month. So it's a kind of a good policy to, before you will issue that vendor a 1099, if you need their W-9, you get that from them before they get a payment from you or from your client. Now, as I review my 1099 vendors here, I can scroll through this list and see the 1099 vendors that are listed on here. If I know somebody that should be here and they're missing, I could come over here on this select 1099 vendors, and I could choose that and go through here and add additional vendor names to that if I need to. Notice down here it's only showing me 10 names at a time. I could click next to go through the next 10 of those. So I can scroll through these looking for additional vendors that I might need to add. Like, let's say computer services right here. Maybe that's a 1099 vendor, and I didn't get him listed the first time, or I didn't set him up properly. So you can add some of your additional 1099 vendors as needed. When I'm finished, then I can go ahead and click Save, and that will update my list over here. Now, I love how easy this is to highlight where you have some missing information. So where you see red is where you need additional information, and you can just simply edit it from right here. So on this one, you can see we're missing the vendor or the company name and the address. So I can click on Edit. I can go in here and put in, let's put in a sample street, 123 Main Street, and I'm going to do, let's get it, whoops, I typed that wrong. That's all right. Baton Rouge, C-A-T-O-N. Come on, my computer's being slow today. I'm going to do Baton Rouge since that's where I'm at today. L.A., Louisiana. I think that's the right one. L.A. for Louisiana. I have no idea what the zip code is, so I'll just make something up and hope it passes. All right, so I got a vendor name here, and I've got some of this information there. I'm going to go ahead and click Save and update that one. Oh, I didn't get the company name. Let's just put A-Test, because I had this one as A-Test vendor. A-Test. And one more type here, A-Test vendor. How come my computer decides to be slow today? I'm on the hotel internet. Maybe that's the problem. So you see how you can go in and update. And now you notice that A-Test dropped down to here. So all the ones that have information missing are going to be kind of highlighted in red up here at the top, so that you can see that. So any of these you need to fix, you just go in and edit. You come in here under the tax ID number, and you can go ahead and put that in there. So I'm just going to do 567, and so you can update those and correct them as you need to. And as you correct them, save. Come on. All right, I have one too many numbers there. See, it's smarter than I am. It didn't like that. Now it should save it. See how they drop off your list? So all the ones that are red that need some additional information or updating are going to be at the top, and then as you correct them, they're going to move back down into alphabetical order. So once you've gone through and all your vendors are okay and you've updated all their information and you've got all that, I can go ahead and click on Next, which, by the way, did you notice I still have a vendor with missing information? And I know this may happen sometimes. You know, you just don't get it from that vendor. You can go ahead and click Next. You still can prepare your 1099 if you have some missing information. Now is where we need to review our vendors and payments. Okay, so these are some vendors that meet the threshold. They had over $600 on those accounts that I specified to meet the threshold to receive a 1099. Now, I can come out here and filter. If I need to look at different tax years, I could do that. I can look at vendors that meet the threshold, Or I can look at vendors that are below the threshold, and I can also review vendors that are not marked for 1099. So you can go through and filter, looking for some mistakes, looking for some vendors that you might have missed, or payments that you might have missed, or a variety of things. You can go through and look at the different things here to look at the criteria there. So let's say we wanted to look at vendors that were below the threshold, apply. Now you'll see we had a few more vendors out here, and you'll see there's quite a few, like Bayshore Cal Oil, a bunch of them out there. So I'm going to filter back for just the ones we wanted. All right, I accidentally clicked on that. Let's get it to scroll up for me. Go back up here. Let's just filter for the ones that we need above the threshold, that meet the threshold, and apply. And now, as I'm looking at them, like Jennifer, I can see under Jennifer Hargraves here, in box 7, it's only showing this $12.45, but we actually paid her a total of $19.83 because I have these excluded payments. If I have a question about, wait a minute, everything to her should be on our 1099, why is it not showing up? So I click on the amount, the $737 here, and it's telling me it's going to go out and give me a report. To get back into my 1099 vendors, I need to click the back button in my browser. So I would click on Continue, and that's going to take me back in here to a report that will show me those payments that were excluded. All right, so while this report is loading here, it's going to take a minute because it's hotel internet. It's not so speedy. I'm going to go ahead and launch the next poll question. There's that report, but I'm going to go ahead and launch the poll question. So poll question number 2, are you certified in QuickBooks Online? I hope that you are certified. So yes, you're advanced certified, which means you're regular and advanced. Maybe you're just regular certified or the core certification. Not yet, you're working on it. Not yet, but you'd like to get certified. And no, you're not interested in getting certified in QBO. You may just be here for the free CBE. And by the way, it is free to join the Pro Advisor program for QuickBooks Online. So it's free to join the Pro Advisor program to get QuickBooks Online Accountant, the QuickBooks Online training, support, and certification. It's all free. And next week on Tuesday and Wednesday, Heather and I are going to be covering the certification prep material. So you could come listen to us Tuesday and Wednesday. You could get certified by Wednesday night. Yay! So I would encourage you to do that. There's also self-study materials in your Pro Advisor portal where you can listen to the recordings and use the guides and get certified on your own. But we would love to have you join us. Do you know if this works in the desktop app? Amy, I'm not sure what you're talking about specifically, but there is a way to prepare the 1099s in QuickBooks Desktop. Is there a report that would show you all the vendor payment summaries so you know if you grabbed everybody? There's a variety of reports, Lisa, where you can get vendor transaction details. So yes, you can go in and get a transaction detail by vendor to look at that stuff. And Drew says, most of my clients are paying online for most of their stuff, so they don't need to send many. No one ever writes checks anymore. Yay! Good for you, Drew. I agree. I try to encourage all of my clients, and I try to encourage everybody, stop writing paper checks. Not only because of the 1099s, but also because when you're paying for things online or you're using plastic, a debit or a credit card, all those transactions are coming through better in the bank downloaded transactions, and you can set up bank rules and you can automate the process, saving tons of time. So I totally agree with you. No more checks, no more paper checks. So I agree. That's a great idea. Let's see. My subcontractors want to know how and what they were paid without it. How they know what, okay, my subcontractors want to know how they know what they were paid without it. What, without the 1099, I assume is what you're saying, Lisa. Your subcontractors have responsibility for their own accounting and bookkeeping to be tracking all of their income. So whether they get a 1099 or not, it's their responsibility to be recording all of their income and reporting that on their tax returns. It's not your responsibility to track their income for them. So, you know, you can do a vendor transaction detail report and send that to that one if you need to that vendor or subcontractor if you need to there. So that's something to know. Miriam says, even if you pay contractors online, don't you have to give them a 1099? Miriam checked the updated rules for 1099s. If you pay them online, if you pay them electronically or with a plastic debit or credit card, the credit card companies are responsible for issuing 1099s. So make sure you check the details on the latest update for the rules and requirements on 1099 reporting. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close that poll question. I'm going to give you like 2 seconds, last call on the poll question, and I'll share the results with you as well. Awesome. This is amazing. 17% of you are advanced certified. That is great. You know, usually only about 2% of the pro advisors get advanced certified. So we've got a lot of advanced people on this webinar. I love to see that. Another 55% of you are certified pro advisors. 10% are not yet, working on it. That's super. I hope you'll join us next week and finish it up and get certified. Another 13% not yet, but would like to get certified. Again, I'd hope you join us next week. It's nice if you can just get it done now before busy season gets even worse. Thank you guys for answering that poll question. Okay, let's get back into, we clicked on the excluded payments because we wanted to review those excluded payments. Now notice I clicked on the dollar amount for Jennifer, so I've got her information showing, but I could change this to look at whatever vendor I wanted. Now I look at these 3 payments were the ones that were excluded. And I can easily see from here why it was excluded. I paid for it with a credit card. So there's 3 payments here that were paid by a credit card. It's the company, or the credit card company's responsibility to issue 1099s for the requirements for their reporting purposes. So if, on the other hand, I change this, let's say I entered it wrong and I really paid for it by a check, I could come in here and change my payment method. So I'm going to change it to the checking account. And remember, we had 3 transactions showing up there. Now when I click Save and Close, you'll notice I only have 2 of them showing up here. So things that were paid by your checking account, checks that you've written, are included on the 1099. Things that are paid with your credit card are not included. So make sure you review the rules and requirements for the 1099 payments, what's included, what's not, as well as the latest deadline. In the past, we didn't have to have everything filed with the IRS at the end of January. We only had to get them out to those vendors and subcontractors by the end of January. Now we also have to e-file them or file them with the IRS by January 31st. So make sure that you go to irs.gov and read the latest requirements on 1099s, because I'm not covering all that. Now I'm going to click back a couple of times here. So I'm going to go back to get back to my 1099s. Now you'll see for Jennifer, this number changed because now I've only got 2 payments there. So you can go through here and review what's included and what's excluded. You also, if you did want to look at all vendors, you could look, somebody was asking, you know, can you look at payments for all of your vendors? You could review here vendors that are below the threshold or vendors that are not marked for 1099 as well. So this will help you to review payments that were excluded to see if they should have been included. So you can use this to do all that. Now once I say, okay, I've got this information, I'm ready to go ahead and e-file these. I can click on Next, and it says, great, you're ready. Now here's where I wanted to show you what the e-file fees are, okay? So e-filing, it's $15. Let's see if I can scroll down here. There it is, the pricing. I'm going to right-click, open that in a new tab so I can show you. It's $15, basically, $14.99 for the first 3 forms. And after that, it's $4 per form, okay? So $15 for the first 3, so it's about $5 a piece for the first 3. And then it's $4 for each additional one to e-file these. If, on the other hand, you decide that you want to manually do them, see where it says here, you can print and mail them. You can read the information here. If you decide you want to do the kit where you get the 1099 forms and the 1096 that you need to send to the IRS, so if you do them manually, you click here to see the pricing on that. It's much higher. If you order this kit, it's $59 basically to do 10 of them. And then also if you look at 25, the price goes up. It's actually cheaper and faster to just e-file these things. So I recommend people just e-file them. It's so much faster to just e-file and be done with it, to pay that e-file fee and be done with it. So that's my recommendation. Of course, you can do what you choose. So that's kind of up to you. But this is where you would click to go to the e-file service and continue on. Or down here, you can print and mail those forms if you want to. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and kind of end this here because that gets you through preparing those 1099s. Heather, is there any questions that you wanted to talk about or any details that you wanted to add? Because I have been monitoring the questions. So Heather, you want to add some stuff?
Well, somebody had asked, and I think you just showed in the wizard where you can get a report that shows people that maybe didn't meet the threshold to view their amounts, and then I had pasted a link for a report that you can create in QBO that'll show all of your vendors and whether or not you've checked the box to have them track 1099 for that. So if anybody's looking for that. Some other questions. Let's see. We have a lot of questions about ACH payments, which I think you're probably going to cover a little bit later when you're talking about transactions. But a lot of questions.
Actually, we're done with we're done with 1099. So
okay.
If you want to go ahead and
absolutely.
Go ahead.
So somebody's saying, with 1099s, any cash, check, or ACH payments, which are transfers from your bank account to somebody, should be included in 1099. So a couple of people were asking, how do you keep track, or how do you tell QuickBooks when you're putting in an expense to include it in the 1099 or not include it in the 1099? And I know that there's a list out there of the coding that you're going to put in that reference number that will tell QuickBooks whether or not to include it. I'm looking, I just saw it like 2 days ago. I'm looking for that document, and I'll paste it in the chat window once I find it.
That would be great. Thank you, Heather. Yeah, because there's certain codes that you put in there. Like you put ACH or you put debit or you put a specific code in there in the check number field, and that's how it knows whether it should be included or should not be included. So yeah, I've seen that too, Heather, and I don't have the link handy. So if you can find that and put that link there, that would be great.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that. Also, that PDF right here, Get Started with 1099s, I'm not sure if it's included in that one or not. That's like 14 pages. I don't think it is because well, it might be. I'm not sure. But, yeah, if you can find that and post that, that would be great.
I will definitely look for that. The other thing a lot of people are saying in the questions, they're just pointing out that, when you're creating the 1099s, that reimbursed expenses aren't typically included in the fees that you pay, so that you want to make sure when you're doing your mapping that you use a separate account for those reimbursed expenses to your vendors. So not really a QuickBooks question, but could be a question.
And so actually, that's a debatable question because
I agree.
Some people include all payments. So, for example, Intuit, when I get 1099s, they pay me, for my services, but they also reimburse my expenses. Everything they pay me goes on my 1099. It's my responsibility as the subcontractor to keep track of what was income and my expenses, what was my travel expenses, airfare, my meals, and all that stuff. That's my reporting requirements and responsibilities, not Intuit.
Right.
So that is kind of up for debate, and, but yeah, Intuit includes all of our payments. So that's something, I guess, kind of company by company, how are they doing it?
Right. I've heard people doing it both ways. Typically, I've done it the way that you just said. We usually include it because, as you said, the person would be deducting those expenses on their tax return to offset the income. So if they're and we're assuming, of course, we're assuming they're reporting all their income and they're not just putting the amount that's on their 1099s on their tax return, right? So
right. Yeah. Okay, so great questions. I saw a couple of other people that said if you're using the TurboTax business version that you can do 1099s from TurboTax and e-file those. So thank you for sharing that. I'm not sure though because I think, it says it's free to e-file. The Business LLC edition, TurboTax Business LLC, it's free to e-file those. I don't know if there's any limitations to how many you can do, Renee, but you would then have to manually enter that data into TurboTax in order to e-file those. So, if you just got a few of them for 10 or 15 bucks, I'd say just e-file them. You know what I mean? I mean, for $15, I don't know that I want to mess with opening TurboTax, manually entering it, doing all that. For 15 bucks, I'd rather save the time and just be done with it. That's one of the things that we have to kind of think about is what's most efficient for us, too. Amy says it's cheaper and faster to e-file through a company other than QuickBooks. They are one of the most expensive around. And Amy, you're right. There are some third-party apps out there, and there are third-party apps that integrate with QuickBooks Online. So there are some other alternatives if you want to look at those and look at getting that app and doing the integration you can. One thing to just always keep in mind is how much is your time worth. Things that are going to save you time may be worth a couple of extra dollars. So that's something that you all have to determine. So it is kind of up to you. Somebody said here that they were doing the manual and they're wasting a lot of time and paper and things like that. Okay, but anyway, yeah, you got to think about the time savings too, especially this time of year. And you have to decide what's right for you and your clients. And obviously, it's going to vary depending on your filing, you know, a few 1099s or if you're filing hundreds of 1099s. So you all have to use your own professional judgment on what's the best answer for you and your client.
So, and just to clarify too, I'm seeing a lot of questions, and I'm assuming that when people are asking how much the cost is per Form 1099, they're talking about the e-filing, because if you have QBO Plus, then printing the forms is included in the cost of that. So I just wanted to point that out too, because I have a lot of questions in here about that.
Right, right. And just remember too, like if I go back to this 1099 thing here, if you want to know those e-file fees, right here when you click on fees apply, you just click on that link and you're going to be able to bring it up and it's going to show you the e-file fees right here. For e-filing with the QuickBooks or the Intuit service here, it's $15 for the first 3. Additional ones are $4 a piece. Okay, so it's going to show you right here what that cost is. For others, like tax 1099 or other ones like that, you've got to go check their own pricing. I don't have a price list of all the different ones comparing them. Or go to QB Power Hour and share your tips and tricks with one another. On Facebook, if you look for the Facebook group, qbpowerhour.com, go start a discussion out there. I use tax 1099, this is how much it costs and I love it. Or this is what I do and it works for us. You know, go share your suggestions and your comments because you guys are great and you're very active out there. So I love seeing you share that out there because we literally have hundreds and hundreds of you on the call today. And Heather, I love you, but you're not superhuman and you can't answer that many questions that quickly. so continue the discussion. Yeah, so continue the discussion out there on Facebook, QB Power Hour. It's a Facebook group that's very active, or on my LinkedIn group. But we're going to go ahead and continue on now. So that was great discussion about those 1099s. And hopefully, like I said, if you have additional questions or things like that, go to the Facebook group, go to the LinkedIn group, post them out there. People are very responsive and helpful for one another. And I do appreciate everybody working together on those things because you never know when it's going to be your turn to have a question. You want people to help you as well. Now let's talk about some things, though, that are new, some updates in QuickBooks Online. And some of these are pretty exciting, I think. Now, I'm just covering some of the most recent ones. Always make sure you check out the QBO blog. So qboblog.com on a regular basis because they're always posting updates out there. And also, if you'd subscribe to my blog, longforsuccess.com/blog, I am going to do a better job. I know I have not been blogging in a while because I've been on the road so much, but I'm going to do a better job of sharing the updates out there and new things as well as upcoming training events and things like that. So subscribe to my blog as well. Again, longforsuccess.com/blog. So let's talk about some of this what's new in QuickBooks Online. And I think this update was like last month, right before Christmas time or the holidays. They came out with this design enhancement and some of the changes. You'll notice that the header bar up here changed to all kind of a dark gray, if you will. You always know you're in as the accountant user when in the upper left corner, instead of saying Intuit QuickBooks, it will say accountant, and you can always click that to go back into your accounting dashboard, your client dashboard and stuff. They moved the Quick Create. Instead of in the middle, it's over here on the far right corner now, so all of the icons are on the far right. The little magnifying glass is the universal search that you have. They updated the left navigation bar to be the lighter colors instead of the dark blue. They kind of changed some fonts and colors here on the money bar and various things, and same thing down here in the customer list. They kind of updated all that. So most of you have probably seen this update so far. Most of you have probably already seen that. Your clients have seen that. I believe it's rolled out to pretty much everybody by now. But this is the newest, latest update that's coming out, which I didn't have in any of my companies. I had to create a new company in order to get this change here, and I had to do it not through QuickBooks Online Accountant and adding a new client there, but through QuickBooks.com and adding a new client down there. This is the latest, greatest update, It's not yet rolled out, I don't think, to very many people. So this is going to be rolling out. Notice this left navigation bar is all changed over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and log into that one. So over here I've got Michelle's Magic Shop. So I had to come up with a name. So I've got a new company with the new layout here. So our dashboard over here, they've kind of changed that a little bit. There's not any real information out here, not a lot. So the dashboard's updated a little bit. Banking's pretty similar. The sales area, instead of saying customers, vendors, and employees on the left navigation bar, now we see sales and expenses. And within our sales, here's all sales, which is what you're used to. Before we had under transactions, we had the sales center there. Well, now we have the sales center here combined with the customer center here. So those two things are now combined, and we've got a link to our products and services list over here on the right-hand side. So now we don't just have to go up to the gear to get to our products and services list. We've got that right here. So that's under the sales area, and also now we have under expenses, instead of saying vendor, it's combined our expenses and our vendors. So you have both of them right there within one tab on the left navigation bar. So everything is very, very similar. They just moved things around a little bit and updated the navigation, and I honestly like it. I have been using this in the QuickBooks Labs, where you can turn on some of these things ahead of time. If you've never seen that, if you click on the big gear up on this top icon bar here, and one of the things that I like to share with people is sometimes people call it like in Dallas one time, somebody said, ma'am, that there's a wagon wheel. And up in Canada, they told me that's a cog, and somebody else has called it a sprocket. You can call it whatever you want, but in all the QuickBooks training materials and everything, that's the gear. We typically call it the big gear. But under the gear up here, QuickBooks Labs is where they're testing out new things before they push it out to everybody. So we've had the alternative left navigation where it combined the centers together, the customer center, the sales center, and the expenses and the vendor centers. We could turn that on several months back, and now they're pushing that out to everybody. So check out these things. These are like beta testing things that are coming soon. So you might want to check some of those out. But this has been kind of out in the QuickBooks Labs for a while, and now they are pushing that out to everybody. Now, we've also got something else that's coming. It's not out here yet. Well, this one is out here now, the QBO Payments. If you sign up to get paid online, which I recommend you do, I love it. There's two versions of the QuickBooks Online Payments. There's the paid version, like about $20 a month, where you get lower swipe rates and percentage rates on your credit card fees. But then on the ACH or the bank transfers, that's free. So there's also under QBO Payments, there's a free plan, a pay-as-you-go plan. If you're accepting credit cards, it's going to be a higher swipe rate than the paid plan. But under both the free plan and the paid plan, the bank transfers are now free. They used to be 50 cents. They're free. Whether people pay you $50, $500, or $5,000, it's free. Now, I used to love it because it was 50 cents per transaction. Free is even better, right? So I absolutely love that. But what it used to do, when we would create an invoice and we would click Save and Send, on that email, you could then choose whether you wanted to let your clients pay with a credit card or with a bank transfer. I'm a cheapskate. I usually uncheck credit card unless they ask for it. Well, now, not only do we see it when we click Save and Send on that email preview, we can do it there, but we also write on the invoice. So this is in a picture of the top part of your invoice. Now this is right up here on the top part of your invoice where you can choose what you want. Now, one thing that I didn't see, and I may have overlooked it, but I didn't see it when I was looking for it, what I would really like is the way to go in and set a preference for by customer or an overall company preference that tells it which options you want. Like I always want to make it a bank transfer, but on certain occasions or certain clients, then I want to be able to say, okay, I'll take a credit card. So I would like the option to set that as a preference either in our customer settings or in the overall company settings. You guys can help me with that by clicking on the gear and feedback and send that feedback into Intuit. You know, I love the updates that Intuit's making for us. Like, I love having this right here on the invoice, but I always want more. The poor product managers Whatever they do, we always want more. We're never happy. So help me with that, and we can request that. But that is free now. So if you haven't started using it yet, I highly recommend it. Just under the accountant settings, click on payments and learn more. You can sign up there and see the details for all that. Now, the other thing that was new, and before I talk about this one, let me do another poll question because I hate to get behind on those. Let's go ahead and do our third poll question. Okay, let's go ahead and do this one. Wait, let me look. Yeah, okay, so here's our third poll question. Have you learned something new? Did you learn something new today? Some of you that are advanced certified, you may not have, and I'm about to tell you about something else new that's coming, so hopefully you've learned something new. But answer this third poll question here, and let me check the questions. Heather, are there any questions we need to talk about while they're doing the poll question? You're still muted, hon.
I am still muted. Wow. Okay, so I was actually still looking for that list of the codes for the 1099s. So and answering questions. So let's see. One that people were asking, and this goes back to the 1099s, is people are asking if you use the e-file service, do you still have to print your 1099s and send them to the vendors? And the answer is you do still have to get those 1099s to your vendors. You can, either email them a PDF if you want to do that, or you do have to print them on plain paper and mail them. Let's see if I have any other questions.
I've got one.
Okay.
I've got one here that I'm going to show them in just a minute about the recurring charges and ACH payments. I'm going to show that in just a second.
Perfect. Let me see.
And Ahmad says, my QBO has not been updated to the new look. Is there anything that I should do manually? No, there's nothing you can do manually. They are rolling things out. This latest change that I just showed you with the sales and expenses instead of customers and vendors on the left navigation bar, that is really, really, really new. And I didn't, like I said, I didn't see it in any of our companies that I looked at. I didn't see it in any of those. In order to get it, I had to create a brand new company. So they haven't started rolling that one out very much yet. But on the left navigation bar, instead of being the dark blue and being the lighter colors, that started rolling out in December. And I think most people have been updated on that. If you still have the dark blue left navigation bar, you might want to go into the chat. If you're a Pro Advisor, click on Help, and you can click Chat to chat with Pro Advisor support to check with them on what you need to do to get it updated. But honestly, our customer care and our support people for Pro Advisors are overwhelmed right now with the 1099s and W-2s. You might want to wait till early February to ask about something like that.
Yeah, and I heard just the other day from somebody that the rolling out these new changes that, I think it could take a while. So I think I heard somewhere April-ish that they're expecting to be complete. So it could be, so you may not see these changes for a while, and that's okay. So it doesn't mean that something's wrong. It just means that, they have a lot of companies to update. So, yeah.
Very good. And somebody else was sharing here, thank you, Susan, that there's lots of services that will mail the recipient copy to the subcontractor or the vendor or make them available online. So, yes, if you want to go look for other services, all you got to do is Google 1099 e-file, and you'll find, I don't know if there's 100, but a lot of them out there. So there are lots of alternatives, and some of those alternatives do also mail that to the 1099 recipient. So if you don't want to deal with that, you can, look for alternatives as well. So you can check those things out as well. Somebody says, I'm still getting charged 50 cents for the bank transaction. Do I need to change a setting? Robert, I would contact support because it is supposed to be free now, not 50 cents anymore. The QuickBooks payments are supposed to be free. So maybe yours just hasn't been updated yet. I would check with support. I heard somebody else that mentioned that this week as well.
Right, I'd heard that too.
Yeah.
What I heard last week when we were out training, we had a care person with us, and they said that the new accounts are free right now, and they're updating the existing accounts, so it may be a little while before you see that if you already have an existing payments account.
Oh, okay, okay. And this is interesting. I love this question. Antonio says, if you have a client who's old school And the only way to contact them is by text message. Now, first of all, can you believe how far we've come? It's old school that they just want to communicate by text. Isn't that amazing? But can the client pay by text after sending an invoice to the client via text? Not yet, Antonio, but that is a great idea. However, with the QuickBooks Online mobile app, we can receive payments with that mobile app. I don't think you can make payments with the mobile app yet. Not yet, Antonio. And if they click the link, I don't know if they can pay it online via their phone. Like if you get the invoice, it's not going to be texting. It's going to be emailed to them. So, Antonio, I don't think so, but I haven't tested that out. Heather, when we get done, I may have to invoice you, send you an invoice on text and see if you can pay it.
Yeah.
That's
great. I haven't tried that either. That sounds pretty cool.
Okay. All right. Let's see. All right. I'm going to go ahead and skip a few questions and go back and close this poll question. We'll talk a little bit more, and then I'm going to allow a few, probably 5 minutes or more at the end again for some more questions. If you haven't answered that poll question, you got like 2 seconds last call. Answer that quickly. I'm going to hit close, and I will share that with you. 30% said almost everything was new. Awesome. I love helping people learn new things. And then 66% said a few things, but they knew most of it. Well, I'm glad you still joined us because we love having you with us. And then 4% knew this content already. They haven't learned anything new. Well, that's all right. You're still getting CPE, and I'm glad that you joined us. And thank you for sharing your tips in the questions and stuff as well. That's always nice when you do that. So here's one of the other new things, and this is not out yet. I have not seen this. I just got the new updated one that I showed you about. This was in a QBO blog post, which remember I told you to subscribe to that QBO blog post. So this is one that's been announced, but I haven't seen it yet. So you're not going to probably see it yet either. I'm not sure how soon it's coming, whether it's going to be, next week, next month, 2 months, 3 months, or what. But in the QuickBooks Online mobile app, we have this feature down here, and I'm going to zoom in on it so you can see it better. We have this feature in the mobile app where you can track like the progress of your invoices. You can see when it was sent, when it was viewed, when it was paid, and when it was deposited. And if they partially paid it, instead of being a full green circle under paid, it's like a half green circle for paid. So I love that feature, and that's in the mobile app on invoices, and now they're going to be bringing that to QuickBooks Desktop. So you can see here the status is going to be there, and what they've got is instead of just having sales and customers, which I showed you just a second ago, we've got a new tab here for invoices, and it looks like we're going to see a bunch of them here, and then we're going to be able to manage our recurring invoices and transactions here. So let's go back into QuickBooks and talk about a couple of things out there. I wanted to mention to you about the recurring transactions and how you could set that up. And then I also wanted to discuss that viewed option right here where you can see if it's viewed. So I'm going to go ahead and pop back over into QuickBooks, maybe. Let me get to the right one. That was the wrong one. Oops. Give me a second. I have too many things open. Not my prepared 1099. Must be this one. Oh, my goodness. Heather, help. I'm just seasoned. Prepared 1099. Let's close this. This was in my Larry's Landscaping. I want to be in Michelle's Magical Shop or Magic Shop. So I'm just going to switch back to it right here. All right. So see how fast it is to switch in and out of client companies? So in Michelle's Magic Shop, a couple of things that we wanted to mention. Under recurring transactions, and I could have done this in Larry's as well. Yes, now when I set up, let's pull up an invoice. I can make an invoice recurring, or no, let me do a sales receipt, make it recurring. So I'm going to go to a recent sales receipt that I had, and I'm going to click on Make Recurring down in the bottom here. This is where you can choose right here under your payment method. So if you want to automatically charge somebody's, let's put Visa card there. No, let's go ahead and leave it on check. If you want to automatically charge their credit card or hit their bank account, now you have to have your clients or customers file or sign an authorization form to allow you to automatically charge their account or debit their bank account and stuff. So they have to authorize that for you. But what you'd want to do is you don't set up a recurring invoice, you set up a recurring sales receipt. With that sales receipt, you need to put in that payment information. In this one, I'm not signed up for QuickBooks Payments because it's a sample company here. But you would normally click to enter the payment information. Same thing if I said I was doing this for a credit card. You'd click to put that information in there. Yes, you can automatically hit their bank account now. It used to be we could only do recurring credit cards. Now we can do recurring ACHs as well. So that's something new and changed. Also, once you put this credit card information in here, this is going to change. And right here you'll see a little box that says process payment upon saving. It's critical that you check that box. Otherwise, it'll create that recurring sales receipt, but it won't do the payment portion. So after you put in the payment information, you also then need to check the box that's going to show up right in here that says process payment upon saving. So make sure you're doing that. The other thing that I wanted to show you was on seeing that they viewed the invoice. Under your company settings, under accountant settings, when you're looking at the online delivery of your sales forms, do not check the box there that it says attach the sales form or attach the invoice as a PDF. Don't do that, because when you email it to them, you want them to have to click view the invoice. Then they can see the invoice and they can print it or save it as a PDF themselves. But if you just send it as a PDF, they can download it and open it and look at it, and you don't know that. So on the updated status of invoices, to know that they viewed it, you want them to check that blue box. So don't attach that as a PDF, okay? So that's kind of a helpful hint for you there. But I'm anxious for this stuff to come. I think it's great, and I'm looking forward to that. A couple of other changes that we had is in the Find a Pro Advisor area. They are emphasizing now and helping clients. So if a client logs in to search for a pro, they can quickly, instead of just searching by location, they can choose what service they want that they're looking for. So it's important for you to go update your profile and put out there what services you're providing. So if somebody's looking for specific services, you've indicated on your profile that you provide those services. So make sure you update your Find a Pro Advisor profile. Also, in the Find a Pro Advisor profile, we'll now see some information on your performance. Guess what I haven't done until last night? I didn't update my profile to include my social links for LinkedIn, for Twitter, for Facebook, for YouTube, for my website and stuff. Go out to your profile and update that profile. I also need to update my picture. It's very old. But go out and update that. And then these are some updates to show us how many people are looking at your profile, which I think is kind of cool. So make sure you're updating those things as well. I see we're getting to the top of the hour, so we have one more poll question that I need to launch. Okay, all right, let's go ahead and answer that last poll question. For those of you that need to get off at the top of the hour, answer that poll question. What do you think of these recent changes to QuickBooks Online that I've just talked about? Do you love them? Do you think, yeah, they're okay, nothing too exciting? Are you just kind of indifferent to them, not impressed, or you're just here for the free CPE? You don't necessarily care about that. You just want the CPE, because I understand there might be a few of you there. Do they have to put a location? I have clients all over the country. I want them to find me regardless of the location. Drew, I totally agree with you on that. However, it still is by location. So send the feedback to Intuit on that, because I think that would be great. It would be nice if we have a client that it shows their current advisor so they don't click to find another one. I agree with you on that, Michelle. It would be nice, instead of saying find a pro advisor, here's your advisor. If it's on our account dashboard, go ahead, Heather.
Yeah, I was going to say, in QuickBooks Self-Employed, it actually does that. So in QuickBooks Self-Employed, right on their home screen, it tells them who their advisor is, who the accountant that's attached to the QuickBooks Self-Employed company is, which is kind of cool.
Well, that's exciting. So maybe that means that will be coming soon to QuickBooks Online.
Yep.
Because they are sharing updates from Self-Employed with Online, so maybe that's coming soon. So that would be great. Okay, let's see. Anything else here that we needed to cover real quick? Those of you that need to leave at the top of the hour, thank you very much for joining us. I know I'll stay and answer a couple more questions for a few minutes, but those of you that do need to leave at the top of the hour, let me give you one last link to show you something. So if you need CPE, go ahead and answer that really quick. And also, somebody said this is a great content, great webinar, perfect timing for 1099. Thank you, Lynn. I really appreciate that. Now, remember, the next one is 2 weeks from now, and make sure you join us for that. There is a schedule with some of them, the upcoming ones, out at QBPowerHour.com, and you will be able to find the recordings in the QB Power Hour archives. And make sure that you keep joining us all throughout tax season and busy season. I will be here joining you. Heather hopefully can join for some more of these with us. Heather, thank you so much, too, for helping answer questions today and chiming in and stuff. If you can hang around for another 5 or 10 minutes, I'm happy to do that for those of you that can wait.
Sure.
I'm going to go ahead and close that poll, so last call if you need any poll questions for CPE purposes. All right, so I'm going to close that, and I'll go ahead and share the results with you guys quickly. 47% of you love them, 36% okay, and then 13% kind of indifferent, and a few that are not impressed. And that's okay too. All right, thank you for answering all those poll questions. Okay, let me do one more slide here real quick, and then we'll answer some more questions. I wanted to, whoops, I didn't hide the poll. Hang on, one last click, hide. Now you can see my slides. Okay, here's the upcoming QB webinars, QB Power Hour webinars that we have coming up. Love to have you join us for those. Register for one, and you're registered for all of them. We'll put more dates and schedules out there as we get them available. But make sure you're joining us on the LinkedIn group or the Facebook group. Again, those are great areas for people to interact with one another, share tips and tricks, ask questions about what other people prefer and things like that. So I think that's a great idea. So thank you, those of you that have to jump off. Those of you that can stay, a couple other questions here. Will these be ACE credits? Wilna, when they are ACE approved, they will specifically say ACE on them. So those 3 that I just mentioned are not ACE approved, but we will have some ACE webinars coming up soon. Somebody else says, so are you saying it is best to attach the PDF or not? No, you don't want to attach the PDF because then they don't have to click View Invoice or View Now. So if they just click on the PDF, they can look at it and you don't know that. You want them to click View, and that's when it's going to update the status, and you'll see a record of not only the date and time that you sent the invoice, but the date and time that they viewed the invoice. So make sure you do not attach that as a PDF, okay? So that's great there. What is the mobile app for QBO, and is it a separate app or just Intuit QBO? Carrie, it's part of QuickBooks Online, and it's part of your subscription, so it is free. So, for example, last week or two when I was presenting with Heather, I think it's been 2 weeks, Heather was presenting and talking about purchases. And while Heather was talking about entering purchases, I took out my phone, and on my mobile app, I went into Larry's Landscaping, and I entered an expense as if Heather and I had gone to lunch, and I took a picture of the attendees in the room with us and attached that as my receipt. And then Heather was able to pull that up in Larry's Landscaping and see the expense that I entered and the image of the receipt that was attached for that. So the mobile app integrates with your QBO subscription. You can enter transactions on it. You can enter invoices, receive payments out in the field. You can enter expenses. It's more limited than all of QuickBooks Online. You just got a couple reports and things like that. But go to your app store, either iTunes or for the Android, download that QuickBooks Online app, and then you can test it out and try using that. Heather, did you want to answer anything or add anything?
Just a bunch of people are asking where to find the ability to attach that PDF, and I'd answered somebody's question. It's in Accountant Settings under the gear icon, under the Sales tab, under Online Delivery. That's where you're going to find. Oh, you're going to show up.
I'll show you that again. So if you click on the big gear up here in the upper right, under your company where it says Accounts and Settings, under Account and Settings, under Sales, because this is dealing, whoops, gosh, click the right one. Under Sales, because this is dealing with your invoice, scroll down to the bottom under Online Delivery and uncheck this box where it says Attach the Sales Form as a PDF, and under Invoices, uncheck that box for Attach the Invoice as a PDF. After they get that email, there's a big box, big blue-green box that says View Now or View Invoice. I think it says View Now. When they click on that, it will open the invoice up for them, and then they can print it or save it as a PDF. But you want them to click that View button, because when they click View, it records the date and the time that they looked at it. So on that status indicator that's coming and on the history of that invoice, you will be able to see not only the date and time you sent it, but the date and time that they viewed it. So I love that. So that was under accountant settings, under sales and online delivery. Good job. Okay, anything else, Heather, that you wanted to talk about or answer?
I don't think, oh, I put in the chat box a link to an article on the 1099s. I couldn't find the document I was looking for that had all the different codes to put in the reference number, but I think there's a link in the article that I put in the chat box. So hopefully you'll find it there, but I know I saw something recently. Just can't find it.
Okay, very good. And Carol shared a good tip too. Be sure you edit the standard email over here. You can edit the default email message. Make sure you change that so it doesn't say your invoice is attached. You can say make sure you click view to get your invoice and print it or whatever. So make sure you update your default email message. Good tip there. Somebody else said, where's the form to get signed authorization for the ACH payment? Carrie, that's going to be part of your merchant services type of thing. Under payments, you'll be able to go in there and get that form so that you can authorize that. Once you've signed up for QuickBooks Payments, I'm pretty sure you can come over here and go into that account and get that form there. If you can't find it, click on chat. And here's what I love. In the new QuickBooks Online, let me move some of my things here. If you're using QuickBooks Online Accountant, let me click to close this window here. All right, and now, I got too many things in the way here. I can't click on yes. Let me move my toolbar. There we go. Close that. Yes, leave it. Why is it not closing? Save. Come on, close. There we go. If you click on the question mark up here in the upper right corner, if you are logged in during normal business hours, see where it says chat now? I love that. You can just click on chat now and say, where's the authorization form to have recurring payments and stuff. So you can just ask them if you can't find it. Also, if you can't find, so click on that to be able to find that. I think that's great. If you can't find the link on the debits, like on those payments that we were talking about earlier, you could ask them and they would probably have that link available for you as well. All right, any last minute questions? You guys had way more than we can answer, so I encourage you, again, go to QB Power Hour Facebook group or on LinkedIn, and you can post questions out there. You can help one another, and I know Hector and I and Heather, Hector's going to be pretty busy, but we could try to chime in there as well. Heather, anything else you wanted to add or say or anything?
I don't think so. Nope. Thanks, everybody.
One last thing before I hang up. It says, will the chat answers be available for later? If you click on the GoToWebinar toolbar, File, Save the Questions Log. You can save that questions log so that you can refer to the ones that Heather had time to answer. Some of them we just answered verbally. So make sure File, Save the Questions Log, and you can save that questions log there. And I'm going to save mine right now. All right. Well, you know what? I would love to stay and chat some more, but I have to get heading out. I got a plane to catch. Heather, thank you so much for joining us today and helping answer questions and share your knowledge and wisdom and expertise with us as well. Heather Satterley, it's always fun to present with you and everything, so thank you. And thank you to all the attendees for joining us, and we'll see you online and see you in 2 weeks.
Great. Thanks, Michelle. Bye. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
bye.
Heather. Bye, everyone.